That back there is not real.
There was a group of reptilians there, and they stood around me in a circle.
Tradition tells us that the army of the Messiah is not to come from heaven, but is to rise in earth.
All right, truth seekers, what's going on? It is a day after yesterday, which yesterday was Monday. I have my friend here, Yaya from Yaya's World, and we're going to take you into her world tonight because we got a lot of conversations. In fact, I didn't really tell her everything that we're going to be talking about, but she's getting ready to hear it now. And because she stay ready, and this is her thing, it ain't going to be no problem from there. So, Yaya, what's going on tonight?
Nothing much. Thank you again for having me, Roderick. Thank you for, bringing me back to the community and being able to connect with like-minded individuals. I'm sure you got some things up your sleeve, so I'm ready. I stay ready.
Well, you know what? And so I was trying to make sure my stream is going to Facebook, but I don't see it yet. And you see it over there, producer? Yeah. He doesn't see it either. It said live stream is starting, but it's just not there. Go into the group and hit go live. All right. So either way, they just gonna have to get another shot at it. I'm not for sure how, but anyway. So let's get going. What I want to talk about tonight. The thumbnail talks about the Epstein files, reptilian connotation, and then there are some. I don't know if you ever heard of Deepak Chopra. Have you ever heard of him?
I have, but it's been a minute, so I might need some refreshing, but I definitely heard that.
All right. Well, I will definitely get into that because I was a fan of his, and he's probably one of the renowned spiritual leaders out there. I'll put up his picture here in a minute. But according to a couple of information, a few days ago, his name came up into the Epstein file. So we'll get to that later on here in the show. We'll be here a little while. And then we'll let everybody know that you're coming to Dallas on March 14th, 4 days after my birthday. We'll be celebrating my birthday as well as you coming in, and we're doing some live entertainment, so.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a great time, great conversations. We're going to feed each other's minds, spirits, bodies, all of that. So.
Yes. So it's going to be really good. All right. So let's start out, hit them right now. All right. As these Epstein's files are coming out now, and I think more people are now finding out that there is more than just, this, and we'll watch the words we say here on YouTube, but more than this pedophilia type stuff, right? This is ritualistic. There's a lot of rituals. Oh, yeah. But if you start looking and tying it back to, my thing is that reptilian stuff, and so we'll get into that. But first, let's get your take on, now that all this stuff is being exposed and people are really seeing what they're doing and how they're talking and witchcraft, all of these things are real, that they've been doing this stuff to us. What are your thoughts on that first?
Well, first and foremost, I just want, and like I've been telling my audience, use discernment. That's first and foremost, because we have to look at everything as a whole. And when I say that to say, look at the timing of when this was released. Look at how long they've been sitting on these same files. Look at how long they've known about these behaviors, right? This sinister activity. Like, look at everything and then come to a better understanding of why are they telling us this now? And are they telling us everything, right? And we can always probably lead back to the answer of no, they're not telling us everything. So what we think we know and what we think we've seen, it's far worse than that. So in regards to that, it's basically having discernment, learning how to pull back, understanding why this was placed out there in the first place, because the consciousness of the planet, of the collective, is rising. And so when that happens, the distractions get louder. And what that means is, number one, they're trying to desensitize people for something, right? They want people to have all this information overload, because that's what it is. Millions of pages released at the same time. Information overload. That's all you see up and down people's timeline, talking about what's in the files, who did what, who's eating what. But at the same time, nothing is happening to these people, right? And then it also leads us to bigger questions of what kind of people consume other human beings. And
I got to answer.
yeah,
Me, reptilians do that. But go ahead. Yeah. So
yeah,
shoot.
no, and I know we're gonna lead deeper down that hole, but you have to start asking the questions that they don't want you to ask,
Right.
because everybody's doing exactly what they expect them to do right now, right? Head
Right.
down in the files. That's the whole plan. This is a controlled leak. So the purpose of a controlled leak is for what? Control. What are they trying to control? You not sitting with yourself, you being so
Right.
in these files, even though you're not going to do anything about it. Like at the end of the day, we're going to be honest. There's selective outrage, because if one of your favorite celebrities come up in the files,
You messed up in the head then for sure.
yeah, I've seen so many people justifying, or oh, we don't know if it's, now all of a sudden it's, we don't know if it's true. I mean, we don't know if any of it's true. However, where there's smoke, there's fire. We've been hearing about these same things for years. There's celebrities that's been exposing this for years, right?
Right.
Conspiracy theorists, so-called conspiracy theorists, what I like to call realists, have been exposing this for years. And so now most of the collective is just starting to catch up, but a lot of us that's been, we've known. And
Right.
so now for us, it's time to pull back, because it feels like a loop. Like, this is information we've known about for ages. And so it's kind of like I said, looking at the timing of everything, understanding the bigger play at hand.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and that's where we get the problem reaction solution, right? They already know how to create a problem, and then we react to it and they come back with the solution. Now, definitely, you know, like you said, there are so many names in there, but we're probably only had two people that maybe it's been from Maxwell and Epstein taking his own life, allegedly, that could
Mhm.
say that has been penalized, and maybe a couple of more out of hundreds of people that's involved with this. And you're right. I think a lot of people, as their celebrities start showing up, and I think it's going to happen, because when you're talking millions of files, it's just a matter of time that somebody be able to get those documents uploaded to some system that just says pull names.
Right.
Then all of a sudden there's a release of names. And then what do you do from there? Then they try to, downplay it. Oh yeah, because I think it was some. I don't know if it was real, because that's my whole thing about what they're doing with real videos and real stuff out here. But there was a post that I don't know if it was Sierra's husband, Russell Wilson, was trying to buy the Epstein jet or some kind of plane from him back in the day. And so when you start looking at, but I think more glaring, Yaya, is what you just said, is eating people. I grew up with the movie Hannibal Lecter, and or whatever his name was, and I think Jodie Foster or somebody playing in it. But this ain't nothing compared to what these people are talking about, feasting and all of this stuff. And I think for people to really now wake up to what they're doing, then makes some of my conversation, some of my content, which is, I'm very diverse on a lot of topics, but I like the reptilian agenda. It's just, ask me anything about it, right? And now I'm like, yeah, okay, y'all, it's coming together. And what I'm going to share with people here later on is a couple of text messages in exchange between Epstein and a well-known person. And one of the words that they use, they have to make it make sense to me. We'll let the audience participate. Make it make sense to me that that word that was used don't mean that what I've been talking about. So I think it's one of those deals. So what do you, like you said, they're not going to do anything about it. Where do we go from here? Why everybody even care at this point?
Right. Well, first of all, awareness. Awareness is the key. So regardless of the fact that we know this is a controlled leak, regardless of what we know their agenda is, what people have to realize, this is also sparking the ascension process for most
Okay.
people. Is waking a lot of people up to the BS that we see in a lot of the systems in place, right? This is awakening people to realize the actual world that we've been living in, what's been put in our faces. This is also deconstructing religion for a lot of people, because like I asked the audience, why are we acting shocked now when in the Bible, and even in church, what do they have you doing? They have you eating Jesus's body, right? Have you drinking his blood. That's ritual. And so the shock shouldn't be here now because somebody wrote that. Somebody compiled this book together, right? And so that the bigger question comes, who are these beings that we have been listening to that put this book together, right? Because a lot of things, when you start reading the context of the Bible, it becomes very iffy, and especially with what we know now. So you have to think back to all of the traditions, all the rituals that they've been doing. And I heard you mention witchcraft. You know, the biggest amounts of witchcraft happen in the church, in religion. So a lot of this, everything is connected first and foremost. But where do we go from here? First of all, pull back. Like I said, it's time to go inward. It's time to focus on yourself. It's time to recognize who you are, the power that you have, and why they've been working so hard to keep you away from it. That's what it's time to do. Outside of that, there's nothing you can do as just an individual. This is more of a collective shifting that needs to happen. But before it can happen, individual healing needs to happen. Keeping it real with yourself, because a lot of people are more comfortable with the lie, right? A lot of people are not comfortable with the truth being exposed, but it's supposed to get you out of your comfort zone, right? It's supposed to get you and lead you back to self. That is what the awakening process and period is for. So to answer your question, it's time to get back to us. And that is literally the whole point on a collective spiritual level. But people can't see it that way because they're choosing the chaos. They're choosing, to be in fear. They're choosing all of these different storylines and timelines in the things that they want us to respond to. So, go inward.
No, I agree with you 1000%, because without going inward, like you said, there's no way for them to reflect on what's happening on the outside, because they're just not going to be able to comprehend it. Well, I wouldn't say comprehend it. They just, like you said, the cognitive dissonance, right? It's just one of those things that is very difficult. I do think that this, with my even name of my show, Truth versus Authority, it's always the rebellion. It's us talking about what's happening. Just because they're in authority don't mean they're in truth, right? And that could be your pastor or your church. It could be anybody. Truth is truth. I think these files that's coming out takes it to another level where people are seeing that what authority is doing behind the scene is not true, right? And so therefore that will be, like you said, part of this awakening, the shift, the turning point that get people to start going like, wait a minute, we don't need to be following these a-holes, They're eating people. They're doing, and they're happy doing what they're doing. Now, that leads all the way into the banking systems because all these people connected. And I go back to, and I think you and I were having, I don't know if we were having this discussion, or me or someone else too. There was a book that I was reading, and in the book, it was talking about how that the reptilians and the grays or the zetas and all that, of course, making the hybrids. But it also went all the way back to talking about bloodlines, right? It was like the bloodlines, and even the grays or whatever they was, or the zeta reticulars, that's what it was. They more preferred the people that were Jews, okay, at this point. And it was saying something about their DNA. Now we're talking, the zeta reticulars were partners with the reptilians, and then you're talking about these Jews, you're talking about why are they focusing on that particular DNA, which is basically the same thing the Epstein files start talking about, was certain DNA, certain bloodlines. This is all that they wanted. And it's all starting to make sense from that lady years ago that said to do shapeshift, and it's like, wait, this is starting to make sense, which also lead to the point of that dude didn't do what we think he did. They walked him right out of the front door.
Right.
Why not?
I saw something really interesting the other day. And again, I take everything with a grain of salt. It's neither here nor there, right? But I am open to information. So I saw a video, and they were talking about how in the Epstein files, they kept referencing DNA kits, which I thought very interesting. I'm like, why are they talking about DNA kits? And I can't remember how many times it was referenced, but it was a lot. And basically what it boiled down to was it looked like they were tampering with DNA. So like what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
That, to me, it sounds like they were experimenting with different species, mixing different species, right? So again, at surface level, yes, we are talking about the pedophilia. We're talking about certain things, eating babies, but it's far beyond that.
There we go. Yeah.
It's far beyond that. And so this is what I'm saying. There's half truths that are being exposed. They're giving people what they want them to know, right? But it's also those things that are not being said where people like us are able to read between the lines to see what exactly was going on. And this is with discernment, not with saying, oh, this was in the files or this wasn't within the files, because again, we have such things as tampering, right? Like, we don't know who had the files prior to release. We don't know what they inserted or what they took out of the files. So it's, at this point, it's just using your discernment, and also, going back to some of these old interviews of celebrities, like I said, from even back in the day, exposing the things that they have been doing for years, for a century. So it's not shocking, especially when you realize we are dealing with different races of beings, right? It's not even race, like black or white or Hispanic. It has nothing to do with that. It's about races of beings. That's where you get into the nitty gritty. So they were doing some things deeper than what people even realize on that island. And then I also saw where that was just one of many islands. So
Wow.
there's that.
Yeah, and it's like you said. Now that comes into, I'm gonna use my wheelhouse, right? Of not only being a certified UFO investigator, of course, being in 11 different TV shows and books on this stuff, and of course, I've always just tied it into, and I think where most people, look at it and be like, all right, we're just talking about spacecrafts. I'm like, nah, these things and people been here a long time ago. They've been here, In fact, we probably are some of them, right? Or one of these different types, at this point. But this particular war that they're fighting, that they're going through, and then, like you say, you go back to church. All right, some stuff in the Bible tells us some things. They try to pull a little bit of everything out, but now that goes back to who made this stuff up,
Right.
And I don't think people at a massive level is really to now come to the grips that all of this stuff was created at some point. Now we're talking DNA. If we're going to go DNA, we're going to energy. Now we're going into our sovereign beings, who we are in our souls, so to speak. So what we're now just dealing with on this side, and I guess that's what the Bible said, there's things more in flesh and principalities or whatever. I didn't go to church like that much, but I'm just doing the parrot thing right now. So, but regardless to that, something new that what we're discovering now had always been existing, right? It's been there. And
Right.
why have people ignored it, and they're going to still probably ignore it when it's in black and white?
Because it's easier. And that's what we kind of spoke about a little earlier about, the truth is more comfortable. I mean, I'm sorry,
The lie. Yeah.
lie. The
Yeah.
lie
The
way-
lie is more comfortable. Yeah.
I wish the truth was comfortable, because to be honest, a lot of us who have been awakened for some time, who have known this information, I was at a point where when I learned it, I'm like, damn, I wish I never learned this. I wish I never knew.
Okay. I'm all right. So pause right there. I was around my group, my peeps. Is a bunch of us. And I said, I'm beginning to think that the people who is walking around here, that the world is oranges and bananas, that they're probably better off, because it makes sense in the movie The Matrix when Cypher is saying, you know what, put me back in. I go eat a steak. I don't care. Let me get fat. Whatever you want to do, because on this side, look at the porridge that we're eating. Look at this building. Look at truth, right? And I was like, man, why would you walk up to somebody who's walk up to you and say, good morning? You go, good morning. Isn't this a lovely day? And you want to say, nah, bro, that ain't what it is. It's like, we got to leave them alone. We have to now know that, man, we may not. It's just don't wake them up. It's like if they go in this morning when somebody walk up to you and want to really know stuff, be like, man, I don't even know if it's my job to wake you up.
Right. I don't
You
know
may not want to know this.
or if you trying to be an attachment. I don't know which one you're trying to be right now, and that's where the discernment comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, also what I tell people, it's not meant for everybody to go. And so this even ties back to what we were just speaking about the different beings.
Yeah.
And when we talk about different beings, we have to also incorporate the NPCs, the non-playable characters, the fillers out there, right?
Yeah.
They're not meant to get anything. They're literally there to disrupt the program. They're there to deter you from what what is the actual truth. Like bots that you see online in the comments, starting mess, causing drama. You thinking these are people. These are bots, literally, right? Or these are vessels that have no soul, have no spark, have no essence. So, somebody did a video on TikTok and it really sparked something in me, Roderick, because it showed that they literally have these beings or people that create traffic every day on purpose. And you start
like traffic, like car traffic?
Yeah. Like how on the highway always bottlenecks in certain areas. Like I live in Atlanta, traffic is nuts, right? And it always seems to bottleneck at certain spots. And when you get up to that spot, you can never figure out why did it bottleneck in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
What caused this? There's literal people out here, or I'll say people, but when I say people, I mean filler people, right? That are there in place to do this every day, to keep you stressed, to keep you anxious, to keep you on the roads longer, to keep you away from your family, to keep you away from self. So even thinking about it from that perspective, in every angle, it's like we have these different beings that pretty much cannot stand humanity in a lot of ways and want to see us fall and want to see us fighting, want to see us divided. But you have to start to recognize who would do something like this. And then the bigger questions come, because this is no longer just people doing this. This is something.
There you go. I think we can now stamp that is higher forces at work, more than meets the eye, like Transformers, the saying. And all that we have echoed over the years, the reality of it all. And it goes all the way back to when I, had an encounter and they was telling me about a soul contract and said, I want to tell you, Roderick, it's more than just aliens and, or not aliens, but UFOs. It's deeper. It's learned symbols and symbolism. And, of course, you're going to go into the mind of the archetype. So at that beginning, truth versus authority, was the mission of rebelling against authority with truth. And then I was like, wait a minute, authority is not just people, it's the mind, is where they're playing at, because some people walk around just because I think it is true. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, hell, that's why they effing us up. And now how are they doing that? Is because they're going back to the very code of our existence, which is in that strand. Now, if you start thinking about serpents or the tooth serpent, the DNA strand, the whole look and symbolism of all of this stuff, it goes all the way back. And I think now, as you were saying, that it is Captain Obvious that people now should look at the rituals and why they're doing those rituals and who are they giving it to or a homage to. And then when they find out who that is, find out where they live. And when you find out it ain't here, it should start making some sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it ain't here. They're giving it to somebody who ain't here. And I'm not talking about my town, Dallas. I'm talking ain't here in 3D, this D3. They're in other dimensions and that chaos world. And like you said, there are beings that I was reading about that are tricksters. These, I forget the race of beings, but they are known to play tricks, and they have the ability to sit in between the dimensions, right? So the invisible lines or the water look that we see when we kind of see something moving, like that Predator thing they used to show when he would push his button, but you can kind of see it. There's beings that are able to go in between that area, and that's where they can play tricks and all that. So why wouldn't they say, okay, we just want to cause chaos. Let's make a traffic jam out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And when you drive up on it, you be like, there's no wreck here, but it starts and stop here, and then it picks back up. And you're like, who? It's like a one of them harmonies thing, but it's just chaos to its fullest. Now, before we go any further, once again, for those of you, if you are in Dallas area, Texas, put something in the chat. Just let me know if you're in Dallas. I got something for you, or Texas or something like that. We'll say Texas, but put it in the chat. Let me just give a shout out to all of you that are in Dallas, and we can kind of go there. Another question, even because of this weekend in Dallas, we're going to be having kind of our Truth versus Authority community. All right, we got a Forney, Texas, and so all right, we got one. So we're going to be meeting talking about chemtrails. Now, I want to tie chemtrails into DNA. What are they doing? Are they specifically targeting people? And then go all over, because Brother Joseph and I talked about that yesterday, and then we're going to stay with the Epstein stuff, but I just want to say that all this stuff is related.
Absolutely.
Like everything is related. So what are your thoughts on chemtrails and everything else?
Ooh, chemtrails. Now, this is one of the topics that so many people, I remember speaking about this a few years back, and so many people could not fathom that they were. I think one of the biggest things that people need to fathom, because it's not just the chemtrails, it's the fact that who's up there spraying the chemtrails?
Yep. Okay.
Because they ain't us. They ain't us.
Right.
That's first and foremost. But in regards to the whole point of chemtrails, I think there's a lot of different things. Even when we look at the weather, right?
Right.
They can forecast the weather for a week, 2 weeks, however long, right? How? I always ask this question. How are they forecasting the weather all the way ahead of time like that? How do you know how much of percentage of rain there's going to be if you're not creating it, right?
Right.
So when I think about all of this manipulation and the chemtrails that they've been spraying, some of it is because they want to hide the activities in the sky, right? Some of it is because they are spraying certain things that are going to really or meant to harm us in regards to our health. This is how, when a lot of people, this is my belief, when we have, flu season and all these different seasons, or a lot of people getting sick at the same time. Yeah, those chemtrails. Airborne diseases, well, where did they come from? Out of the air. It wasn't out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason. It's always a reason, cause and effect, of why they're doing it. The bigger question of people need to ask is also who's doing or what is doing it. Because again, I truly don't believe they would trust us, right? Like you and I, to be going up there, because they know we have morals.
We have morals, and it's going to click in that we're going to be like, I can't do it. Because I was asking Brother Yosef about that yesterday. I said, because you got to think about it. This is airborne aerosol, right? And why wouldn't they worry about the air taking this to a place where one of their loved ones is, unless they're not connected to anybody down here?
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? So they don't care, that no empathy or apathy or whatever. And the only thing I know that does that is reptilians, once again, or some of these alien beings who don't care.
Right.
For all of you Dallas people, I got a thing on the screen here, and it says text the word truth to that 800 number. That's going to put you on our text list for Dallas area, Texas. And this weekend, we're going to be having a kind of just a little live get together mixer talking about chemtrails. But Yaya is coming to Dallas March 14th. And yeah, she's going to be in Dallas. We're going to have a great day. Brother Joseph is going to come up and visit too. And, he's going to watch me and Yaya do our thing. And after that event, we're going to celebrate my birthday. So yeah, we're gonna hang out a little bit, have a little DJ there, and then hopefully my team will get me a cake. I'm just throwing it out there, and it'll be my first birthday party.
Oh,
Literally, yeah, it'll be my first one that I can remember. I know I don't remember all the way down to 5 or 6 years old, but be my first birthday party. But then we also have a VIP where on Friday night we are going to hang out, just a few of us with Yaya and in the VIP. So there is a link in the description of this video. You go to truthversusauthority.org, hit the event tab. You can register for that event. Or again, this weekend, you can come to our events, but get on the text list. If you're in the area, then I text out all of these reminders because we meet twice a month over here in Dallas, Truth versus Authority community. So I just want all of you to know what's going on. So my birthday is March 10th, but we'll be doing what we're doing March 14th. So let's continue. Someone said happy early birthday. Thank you. So let's continue down. I will hit a little bit about chemtrails because, and then we'll get out of that because on my website, we just put this together for our thing this weekend. This is a USB drive, y'all. And this USB drive, you don't need a DVD player or whatever, but on this USB drive, I have over 40 DVDs about chemtrails and geoengineering. So for you to really get your knowledge on, and this is about 49 hours of stuff, stuff you won't find anywhere. We pulled it from all different places. But you can go to the website, truthversusauthority.org, and you'll be able to get all of these and shipped out to you. So it is in your best interest, your family best interest, to get this knowledge so that when you look up to the sky on that beautiful day and you see some stuff, let me see if I have it right here, that looks kind of like this, then you say, hell no, not today. And you be like, not today. I mean, that's a pattern. You don't make that up. That pattern is deliberate, right? So it's like, it ain't that many planes going across in one moment and leaving it sitting up there. So those are the things that I think. But anyway, you all can go and do that. So y'all, we'll double back on that in a little bit. And again, you come into Dallas. Let's go back to, I got to go to Deepak Chopra or whatever his name, I'm tongue twisted there. But anybody kind of know, if y'all know who he is, I got a picture of him. So let me put it up. He is a well-renowned person right there. He's that conscious person. He's been around forever. He's a guru, and I used to listen to him years back. But they now come back and say that it was in the Epstein file. Out of all people now, we're talking guru, right? And it gets even worse. They showed a text exchange between these two people. Mm-hmm. And in that text change, I'm going to put it up here on the screen, and let me take the banner down so people can kind of read it. I'll read it out loud as well. So it's redacted, but it says they sent to who, which was the number. So he requested whoever the lady is details and only meet her in the street or two. So obviously this is Epstein, allegedly talking to him. Then Chopra said, amazing. How did you pick her up? And he said, oh, listen, my son, the wisdom of sages will reflect your reality. Okay. So Chopra goes, ha, I have much to learn. Then he says, in many ways, is more connected to reality than the brilliant scientist. I felt connected to her at the level of awareness. This is what Chopra says again. So obviously he's seen the chick. But here's the words that kicks my ass. He said, I like watching you zero in on your prey. And I'm like, prey? I'm like, whoa. What would an animal say to the mouse? What would a snake say to the mouse?
Exactly.
That's reptilian conversation. That ain't no pedophilia. Oh yeah, that's a pedophilia. No, he said, I'll put it back on the screen right here. I like watching you zero in on your prey. It made me smile. And people, that wasn't PRAY either. Okay. It wasn't. It was P. So what do you think? I was saying, we already know Epstein, all these, reptilians. Is that not a conversation that two lizard people will be having?
I know one thing's for sure. That's not a conversation that me and my homegirl will be having, or me and you.
Right. So,
and furthermore, just even the response is telling, where it's like, it made me smile. what about whatever happened? I don't even want to imagine what it was or how he approached his prey or got his prey or whatever he did with his prey, right?
Yeah. And that told me that both of them, like someone said in the chat, they're both reptilians. They, because they all, I think now that whole cult of all the people that was going out there, everybody, they all have to be connected at some point, and that was just their playhouse.
Well, let me ask you this, Roderick, because I know you and we talked about this. When it comes to the conversation about reptilians, though, are we all reptilians?
I know you were going to go there. Don't do it. It's 506, almost 600 people in here. You better hit them in the head like that. We spent 5 hours up to 5 o'clock in the morning talking about this. You going to hit them? Go ahead and hit them. You go ahead and hit them. I was just...
We got questions. It's time to listen. We breaking the spells around here. So
okay, go ahead and hit them there. Go ahead.
Why do we have something called the reptilian brain, right? I don't know for y'all. Like, this could just be me and my ashy ass, right? But I know in the wintertime, if I look at a part of my leg, it sure do look like snake skin sometimes. If I don't, right?
Right.
Lotion on it, it's gonna look a little scaly. Why is it that we shed skin kind of like how the snake does?
Yep.
I'm just saying, it's just questions that we have to ask. And when in regards to our reptilian brain, that is what us expressing the lower nature.
Yep.
Exactly what we see from these beings, right?
Yep.
So we got, again, these are going to lead to uncomfortable questions that everybody's not going to be ready to hear the truth, right? Because it's more comfortable to sit in the lie.
I'm going to see if I can find something that's going to trip people out. And so so my team, we all talk about that. There's a few of them in the group. I'll be like, you're a reptilian. And, and they laugh, we laugh it out, but I'll be like, nah, there is a lot of stuff that we have to look at. And I'm going to see if I have a picture here I can bring on the screen that's going to trip some people out. And they'll be like, what? And okay, maybe that's too much. Go back to okay, let's go here.
I have a great.
Yeah, continue. Go ahead.
No, I'm interested to see what the picture is too, because I think I know where you're going with it. And I'm finna
put it on the screen right now. I'm gonna do a screen share. Just one part of this thing. Let's just do this one. All right, so I'm sharing it right here. Okay. That right there is a human fetus. Okay, because remember, we're part reptilian and part zeta grays, and then it comes into the humanoid. Now we're thinking of the evolution of the metamorphosis or whatever's going on. So think about in the womb, reptilians are born in eggs in water sac, which is where our babies are held. That thing right there is a tail. That ain't two legs. That's a reptilian embryo in the sac, which is a human. Now, if you move up the clock, it then start thinking about, I'll go back and find something else. That thing turns into a gray alien because it's part of all this. So it's going through evolution before it comes out looking like what we do. But it's happening fast within, 9 months or however you want to do it. But if you go to, I think, let's say 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then that tail is still there. It's not like, it morphs into two legs. It's still there. But then it changes, and let me put it right here. Here's 8 weeks. Like 4 weeks later, it changes to, let's go here. And now they can, people can kind of go like, okay. So 4 weeks later, it begins to look like this. Or we do. Now that's a gray alien look. That's the hybrid too.
It's undeniable too. Look at it.
It's undeniable, right? It begins to look like this. And then when it does come out, it now morphoses into what we are. And then you want to go back to every ancient culture, no matter who they were, talks about the snake, right? And this is before religion, predates religion. And then, of course, we know the guy, M.Z. York, breaks it down that all of the previous gods were black reptilians too. So a little bit of everything is mixed, right? So, but if you go back and start thinking about it, that they were here before we got here, just like the dinosaurs and all that. And then I think what's really hard is people not thinking of bipedal type of humanoids. Now we can go all the way back to all these different species, from, you know, dolphins and mermaids and, you know, all of these different species was here. And we're sitting here thinking they're not here. Well, what if they evolved?
Right. And
Which then looks like us, right? So,
but the thing about it is, Roger, and this is where I say, stop watching those movies just to eat your popcorn and drinking your Coke, right?
yep.
Like, they're showing you in the movies, they're showing you in the TV shows. So it's time to really, you know, put it in perspective. First of all, where did they get the thought to even come up with these things? Right? That's
right.
this just came into your brain out of nowhere. That is not how it works. Like, our brains are receivers. We're receiving this from somewhere for a reason, because this is already happening. There's, you know, we live in a multi-dimensional reality. And so on every dimension, there are different beings, which means it's infinite, because the dimensions are infinite, right? So put it in perspective in that way. Of course, there are other beings. Thinking about even the TV show Grimm, I love to use this for an example.
Oh, I love the show. I love the show. Yeah.
Grimm was showing you, like, when you talk about the essence of certain people and who they are at their core, some people have a wolf essence, some people have bird essence, some people have that dog in them, right?
Yep.
Now, you know, you hear people say, "Oh, you such a dog," right? Like, we use these terms, and a lot of times we don't realize why we have been using them, because it's describing the very essence of that being. So, you know, we all are tied to certain beings. We are. And like I said, the bigger question comes down to, are we all a form of reptilian mixed with other things, of course, right? But the same reptilians that we're speaking of, are we tied to them? It's just a question.
Well, but it's fair enough, because this is where I think, I can't say the term where the rubber meets the road, right? This is where reality meets non-reality, right? And, or should I say, when dreams and reality becomes real, it's for real.
Right.
So it's whatever terminology you want to use, from your dreamland to reality, it's for real now. Though that's where it intersects.
Yeah.
Then if we do that, then it makes a lot of sense, though, because if these beings have higher intelligence, higher power, higher whatever capabilities, that means it's in us. And if they're trying to control us, the main thing they would do is to make sure we don't remember that we carry those DNA strands. And so therefore they deactivate them, because if we did, then it is that song, they just like us, or they not like us, or we are. And then it changes the game completely. So we can go back and start thinking about it, where I don't think people will say, all right, I'm a reptilian shapeshifter, because we know there's different levels of this, right? But that doesn't mean that someone didn't come back and say, we're going to mix some stuff up, because the human species at some point had to be the epitome of all these other empathetic beings, or species. I'm going to use human species at the time, that they were like, all right, y'all, because if you start thinking about it over time, everything has the format: 2 eyes, a nose, whether it's a fish, whether it's a bird, whether it's a roach, damn near, I think, just different. So somebody said, okay, this works.
Right.
And we're going to keep using this format, right? And then it evolved. All right, well, let's lose the 4 horse legs and half horse and half. Let's just keep going. And that takes us back to all these different, whether it's the ant people or insectoids or avians. And it goes back to what you said, because you can really take your eyes out of focus and you look at one of your friends like, damn, that's a fucking hawk.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That is a hawk. And we used to be like, as men back in the day, be like, oh, she got a donkey butt. Oh, she got a deer ass. Or she got a Clydesdale, just whatever, she got that walk.
Right.
Be like, okay, well, there we go. It all comes from somewhere, So I don't know. It's just, we say it, but we probably don't know that we're really like, yeah, you see something. You see something. Yeah.
we speak it before we like the logic catches up to it. So
Yeah.
your soul, the essence of who you are, knows all.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we'll just let our ego come behind it and say, am I tripping? No, you saw what you saw in that person or on that
Yeah.
person. But also, like I said, just pay attention to the energy, because the energy doesn't lie. You have malevolent beings and then you have benevolent beings, right? So you can always tell based off the energy of what kind of being you're actually dealing with. And not all, again, we are all tied to specific beings. However, again, not all of them are malevolent. And so that's what a lot of people need to come to grasp with or come to terms with,
Yeah.
because everything that has been put out there up until this point has been negative. When you hear about a reptilian, you automatically think about something negative,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Hear about a gray, most people are going to be nervous or scared or think about something negative because of the movies, because of things like that. But most of the time, a lot of these beings, they don't want to harm us. A lot of them are actually here to help with our ascension, to help with our evolution, and so on and so forth. However, you do have a race of beings or multiple races of beings that literally are here just for our downfall. Just like I
Yep.
said, just so that we don't remember who we are. So that's what we're dealing with. But everything that we've learned about these different beings up until this point has to be unlearned, because of that a lot of people are just sitting in fear, which is keeping them in denial
Yeah.
about reality. And so when people are ready to awaken and accept the truth of the matter, because it was hard for me at first when I started having to ask myself the question, like, well, damn, am I a reptilian? you know
Yeah.
it's a hard slap in the face, feeling like, wow, like I hope I'm one of the good ones, right? If I am.
Yeah.
So again, it's about unlearning everything that we've learned up until this point.
No, I agree with you. And that's when I changed our messaging on our show in our community. I was like, all right, we're not looking for them in the negative. There are some good ones out there. And if you are, contact us. And I used to have a reptilian hotline up, and I was like, okay, just call in, and I would get some calls. I'd be like, yeah. And now I'm like, all right, we can turn it back on. But I know there's some good ones out there too, because we see the again, there's good humans and bad humans, right? So we know that. Now, one of the things that a discussion that I had previously with a couple of people, I'll just have this with you. So when we start thinking, there's different levels of these beings, okay? But I'm gonna still kind of focus on the reptilian side and say, when is it that you think that the shift comes when they decide that they want to take over someone else? Let's say if it's just, I'm using a small number, but there's 10,000 reptilians. We know that we outnumber them. That's the fear. We know that.
Right.
All right. And if you did have a choice to shapeshift into some human form, you would probably pick someone who is a celebrity, rich, whatever, if you want to live the lifestyle. I would think some of the benevolent beings probably be like, yeah, just let me be a homeless man pushing a basket under the bridge, because I just want to just chill,
Right.
But if you were think about it, that they would, now that goes back, this is just me talking here, that all right, let's say I grew up with Will Smith. I'm just using it allegedly. I grew up with Will Smith.
Mhm.
And okay, I knew him in high school, blah, blah, blah. We hung out, we played. I never seen him ship to a lizard. But then all of a sudden now as an adult, people are like, oh, he's on the island, or maybe he was there, or maybe he's a reptilian. Or let's go back with Justin Bieber. There was a time that Justin Bieber was caught on camera saying that he was in a executive meeting, for a music label,
Mhm.
and they all shapeshift to show him their form of a control. And then he said that when he was so nervous that their tongues was coming out like they were just feeding the air off of his fear, like they just loved it. Okay.
Mm.
Now let's move it up to about a year or two ago. That they got videos showing that there was some type of Justin Bieber concert or something wherever at mall where he shapeshifted to a woman reptilian. So I'm like, at what point did they say, you know what, I want to be him and let's switch this out?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Because I don't think they was Now, of course, I saw a George Bush daughter interview of her doing her book, where her face kind of, and I'm like, okay, maybe she was born one. But at this point, that's the only thing I can come up with when people say they're reptilians, and then we see the vril, the thing in the eye. I don't know if you noticed that,
Yeah.
And all those things. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do we think that some levels of them are just, I wouldn't use the word clone. They're shipping them out, or David Icke said that they actually are there. They're just behind the body. And we just see this hologram that we see, but they're like puppets controlling it.
Right.
So I'm just throwing it all out there. What are your thoughts on it?
It's interesting you're asking this, because I started to think about a lot of the celebrities that we see now, which I started leaning away from even talking about the celebrity conversations, but it is important to bring it back full circle. But back in the day when I used to talk about cloning and things of that nature, that's when I was getting hit the most on like all my social medias, because they don't want us talking about it for whatever.
Yeah, right.
Like I say, where there's smoke, there's fire. But one thing that you can pinpoint when you look at these people, right? So these celebrities, when they're first starting out, you notice their certain look, right? But then as time goes on, you start to see, like, you can tell when the essence of somebody is now gone, right? So it's like the light or the spark in their eyes is different, or it's completely gone. It's dark. It's disconnected. And so when you ask, like, at what point, first of all, you said something interesting about with Justin Bieber's situation. It was like the fear. They were feeding off of the fear. Yep. So that's first and foremost. Also a disconnection from self. So anybody who's truly disconnected from self, so living in fear, lack, scarcity, greed, all of those lower energies, you can absolutely be hijacked. And this is, again, another important reason why it's important to go inward, recognize who you are, remember who you are, remember your power, because they know your power, which is why they're doing everything they can do to try to siphon it.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Didn't have the power, if you didn't have what they needed, right, they wouldn't be going the extra mile and doing all the shit that they're doing. It's for a reason. So, which lets me know that you and your energy and the essence of who you are, you're the one that's actually needed. I've never seen anybody more powerful than me that needed my energy, right? Yeah. So when you think about it from that aspect, we feed them based off of our lower energies. And when you can recognize this, they can't hijack you. So like certain people, they probably try. Like I heard about them having different programs, CIA programs, and so on and so forth, with people who do remote viewing, right? And so they have a whole team of people who remote view certain people or certain beings to try to figure out what they know, or what they're tapping into. Why? How do they have this going on, right? And so, like I said, the why is the biggest piece. But most importantly, there's a lot of people who they are not even able to remote view into, just because of their level of protection, just because they are very self-aware, because they're tapped in, because they can't get tricked by trickster spirits or trickster beings.
Yep.
Right? So again, it's always going to lead back to the conversation of know thyself, know who you are, know where you come from in all aspects, whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, even if it's you figuring out, damn, I am a reptilian and I might be more connected to the malevolent ones, right? It's who you are.
It's funny you said that, because in our office, I have this big thing. I think I may have sent you the image, but I have this big thing, and it has all the date backs to all the time matrix, all of the different species or humanoids, all traces all the way back to billions of years. So I was telling some people on our team, I said, you know what? We may find out, if we all keep going back, that we could be mortal enemies. Back in the day, your tribe and my tribe may not like each other. So what do we do about that? Then one person, she was like, well, I'm not that now, I'm kind, whatever. I said, okay, well, then we just leave it at that, because we're exploring to date it back before religion and all this stuff, right? Because now you're talking religious or humans being around, maybe I'm going to give 1 million years, but we've been here 1 billion years. So
Billion.
so what happens long before that, right? And so I think people should do the due diligence, start looking past all of this. Then you'll start getting into the species. You'll start getting into. You have to then go inward to do this. Real quickly, for those of you in here, we have a Facebook group called Truth versus Authority. It's a community. If you go to Facebook, you'll kind of see this banner with me and my books, the TV shows that I've been in. But I would love for you all to join that Facebook group, Truth versus Authority Community. You'll get updates and things that we're going to be doing, especially locally. And then as we move about, do some things. So make sure y'all want to go there on Facebook. You all can take some time to go jump on there. And then, as I will tell you, coming up in March 14th in Dallas. And you know what? You also can get, we're going to live stream a couple of hours of the main part of Yaya and our conversation. So you all can get a ticket to that. You can go to truthversusauthority.org, or there is a description and a link. But she's going to be in Dallas live. We're going to be there Friday night for kind of a VIP, and then Saturday for the event. And then the event is going to run right into a little birthday celebration. So we're all kind of just hanging out. So if you get a ticket to the event, you just hang out with us in the birthday. And so cannot wait. Huh?
Now I told them to come have a good time with us. We're going to list a lot of things we can speak about online, but there's a lot of things that we can't. So.
Oh my God. Yes. We're going to talk some sugar honey iced tea. In the live stream, you will be able to hear that stuff a little bit because it's live, it's private, and everything else. So when you go to truthversusauthority.org, hit the events, then you'll see the whole list. And then you'll see the date. You can, like I said, right now everything's on pre-sale. You can get your ticket just to watch it. All of you here that don't live in Dallas should get the ticket, because we're gonna cut it off a few days before, because we got to set that up manual and send out the emails to everything. So we won't be doing it at the last minute for live stream, right? Because it'll just be too incompetent. But right now is a great time. Less than a half a cup of coffee a day or less than that, so you could go and get you some good old stuff behind the scenes. But if you're in Dallas, you want to shake some hands and ask some personal good questions behind the scenes, make sure y'all do that. But again, the link is in the description of this video, so you can go to our website and join us. And there are other many ways. Contact us on Facebook, and then get on our text message, especially if you're in the area of Dallas, so that you know we do 2 community events once a month. So we're constantly talking truth in all of this stuff and connecting those chosen ones. If you're a star seed, or if you are, a light worker, and all of this stuff, we make sure we bring the big energy ball together when we do our community. And because they're after you, all this stuff is targeted because of the power that you possess and stuff. And so if you want to be around other people like you, a place to be heard, because we have an open mic. So we like for everybody to tell us, why are you here? What's your mission? What are you doing? And you can be able to do that. So once again, join our Facebook group to keep notices on that, Truth versus Authority Community. Or once again, you can go to Samurai in Live. But there you go. So you guys got all that information as we continue our conversation with the great one here, my friend, Yaya, as we doing what we're doing. All right, so let's keep going. All right, let's say if I missed anything, where you want to take us?
Well, let's talk about let's talk more so about like the rituals and some of the things that they have been actively doing as of lately. I want to say one of the biggest rituals thus far, of course, was the dropping of files, because people were highly anticipating it. Like, this was years of people saying, drop the files. I've seen about this for forever, right? And I think one of the biggest questions that people are starting to ask, or I even saw a video, was a guy in the airport the other day, and he was in there screaming at everybody in there saying, they dropped the files and all of you guys are acting normal, right? And in my mind, I'm like, I feel like they want a certain reaction out of it, right? But I think people are such in a state of shock. Honestly, a lot of state of shock. They don't know how to react to anything at this point. And so, just taking it back to what I'm talking about, that is a part of the ritual. That is their agenda, the chaos, the fear, right? Because now there's a lot of people like, oh my God, they're eating people. They, you know, like that's kind of worrisome, like when you really put it in perspective. So as I always say, learn how to absorb, not absorb, learn how not to absorb, but learn how to observe for sure.
Right. Right.
When you start absorbing all of this energy, again, they're winning. And not only that, you're feeding them. These beings feed off of energy. It has nothing to do with money. I know a lot of people think most of this has to do with money. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
The beings that are in place that have been in power for so long, they don't feed off of, you know, food. They don't feed off of currency as far as, you know, paper money or anything like that. The real currency is your energy. So realizing the rituals that they play every single day, or that they have people willingly participate in, just like well, I'm not gonna say it like that because I don't want to get your channel messed up, but
Yeah.
the Super
Thank you.
Bowl that just passed.
Yeah. Now
Another,
we're gonna talk about it in Dallas, though. You know, we can talk because all this conversation is relevant all through time. So go ahead. Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, that was another huge energy harvesting ritual. And they always do these at specific points of the year. So also learning about like astrology and the different months and the different energetic portals that happen, because everything will start to make sense, especially when you start to hear different headlines come about, right? When I read certain headlines, I automatically know this is a part of the reptilian agenda. Like I automatically read it and I'm like, I already know what's up, just based off of the language that I see in it. Or the numbers, the numerology, right? The gematria that we can do on it. But it's just realizing that everything that they do is ritualistic, down to the foods. And even taking it back to the chemtrails real quick, Roderick, when we talked about that, the chemtrails are also another way that they're controlling people, because they have certain nanobot technologies that you're breathing in, and now they're getting them, and now they're able to control you. This is why you can't control what you crave to eat. This is why you know, some people are, you know, very highly actively sexual, you know, but and they can't control their sexual urges. A lot of times it's not them. It's it's the parasite. And where did the parasite come from? That's another question that we have to start asking. Most diseases are linked to what? Parasites. So then the question becomes, okay, well then where did parasites come from?
Yeah, I think it's we have Judith, which is one of my friends. She's talking about Monster Inc. and how they was showing how they're draining energy. But I said it before, for those of you in here, this is a document and it's in this little file, USB file that plays on your TV or whatever. We are talking about chemtrails this weekend, and this is 40 different DVDs on geoengineering. All this is on a flash drive. I don't have that many. We have probably about 15 or 20 of these that you can buy. But if you were to try to get all these DVD stuff, you'll probably spend $500-600. But anyway, it ain't even about $100. But you can go to truthversusauthority.org, click, you'll see it on the front page there, and you'll be able to get you one, and I'll ship it right out. And then the sheet is also in there so that you can pick whatever title when you stick it inside of your TV or whatever and push play. You will see some stuff that she's talking about that we cannot talk about here on Chemtrails, court cases, people in court, the stuff that they're doing, stuff showing the brain with some that's not been affected and some that's have. It's a lot of different stuff there, and it's incredible. And you won't find this anywhere else, but we have it. And so if there's something that you want to learn or be that person to share that information, when you finish, you'll be an expert on chemtrails. I mean, an expert and won't nobody be able to tell you nothing different there. For once again, this sheet goes off in here. It's a USB, like 49 hours, but separate DVDs again, but it's on here with the play format. You just put it in, pick it and play. So you don't even, and you can put it inside your, I think Blu-ray, a lot of them got USB ports now and TV side of that. So just stick it in there pick which one you want to watch and all that. But go to our website, truthversusauthority.org, and you'll see it right on the homepage, take you over and get you a copy of all of this. Let's go back to, you mentioned, which caught my attention, of all of this, of just everything from the food, from, making us act certain ways, and all of the tests of this, and knowing that the sky is the sky. So is there something different between why they're not, how can I put it? Because some people say there are some areas that they do not do chemtrails. So could it be race link? Could it be neighborhood link or anything else? What are your thoughts on that?
I hear a lot of people saying that, especially in regards to like they do a lot more in areas where what people consider as minorities are. I mean, I can't say. What I will say is, when it comes to these beings, race is not really a factor. They don't care who gets it, right?
Okay.
They only created hierarchy or race issues in the first place for division, so, to keep people fighting amongst one another. But in regards to them and their whole agenda, race, it doesn't really play a role. What I will say is I believe that wherever the highest energy points are is where they spray the most.
Yeah.
So again, I'm somebody who's all about energy. I'm more focused about energy because I realize and understand that energy is everything. And so when you think about places, for instance, Atlanta, when I moved here, because I'm from Connecticut, so I'm not gonna say I didn't see chemtrails, and maybe it's just because I wasn't as aware back then, but I can guarantee you I see them a whole lot more out here. But that goes also into 33rd parallel, the energies coming off of
ley lines and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Linking Atlanta back to what? Atlantis. So when you think about that and put that in perspective, and then also thinking about where we are as far as the frequencies of the planet and how that's rising so rapidly, expanding our consciousness, are they spraying because this is the thing that keeps us away from expanding? Right? They're spraying something out there, aka implanting those nanobots so that it can control you, right, and deter you from your highest self. So their ultimate goal, it has nothing to do with race, and from my perspective. I could be wrong, but this is more of an energetic thing. Like, where is the energy the highest on the planet? Now, I did hear there are some countries where they don't spray at all, right?
Yeah.
But that also leads me to more questions. Why are they so focused on us here in the US then? Right? Like, again, I'm just here to ask the question. I'm just here to make you think. That's what I tell people all the time.
We the same way. I tell people my job is giving enough information. You hear, you see, hear, listen, to give you to awaken your curiosity to the possibility that whatever we're talking about, because you got to go the rest of the place on your own, especially when it comes down to looking into all of this stuff, right? Because I think a lot of people want to do that. And let me make a clarification, because I saw something in the chat a while ago. This is 40 different DVDs, y'all. So I just want you to know it's 49 hours. You don't have to watch it all. You can just click on a different one. Chemtrails and like I said, what I don't have about it, it's 600 people in here. So if anybody want to get it, you better go to the website, pick it up, and then, like I said, I'll ship it out to you. But this will make you everything from HARP to geoengineering, what they're doing. You will see some insidious stuff here. So I will warn you that there are some things you better not go talk about that you're gonna learn in here. Don't let it. I told you, that's my clear warning. There's some knowledge in here. Be smart, be proactive, but just don't go and be like, oh, I know the truth. That I was like, wait a minute. Because they are not going to go down that route with you and that. And what do we do? I mean, now I think it's a slow thing though, right? I think that they play a long game. These beings play thousands of years game, right? We're here switching out, every 800 years, and we're coming back though, some of us. And so the effects of what they're doing is probably why you can just walk out and breathe air tomorrow and you ain't just going to drop and flop
Right.
for now. So, but the whole point is they play a long game. They play evolution, because I was reading that there was something that the species felt that there was something wrong with the humans at the time. And it said that it took over 100,000 years for this to breed out of our genetics or whatever. And I'm like, well, they play a long game, but we've been around billions of years. The
But
planet, Earth been around.
our
So-
time is not equivalent to theirs, right? So that's another thing. Like, we're looking at it as, man, that's a long time, but for those beings, that's like the next day, you know. So it's again understanding the whole truth about time and how it's not linear. It's not even a real thing. It's a man-made concept.
Right.
So they do play a long game. They have patience. Most of the time they have the discipline that most humans lack, right? Because as soon as we start doing something, you know, is how easy it is to keep us distracted, right? Which is the ultimate weapon that they used against us. Even now, most people, you know, because of the world of TikTok and all this social media, most people can't even sit through a video that's 30 seconds, 60 seconds.
Right. The attention span is like,
you know, so everything that well, I won't say everything. A lot of what they've tried to do, they were successful with. But what I will say is they are at the end of those times and they know this, right? It's like the spell has been lifted, which is why we are in what people call the Great Awakening. This is where people's consciousness expands. This is where the illusions fall. This is where all the systems that have been in place that have been doing all kind of sinister shit that we have heard about, that's when these systems fall, right? So we're at that place of rebirth. And, you know, that goes into us going into the year of the fire horse, right? We leaving out the 9 year, the year where we finally saw all of the illusions being revealed. And now we're going into the fire horse. So it's time to move forward. Now that we have the information, we realize what we got to do, which is, again, focus on self, focus on how we can make ourselves better, tapping into what you're truly supposed to be doing. Because, again, the ultimate goal was to keep you away from your gifts, your powers, your passions, and your purpose. So getting back to that and stop focusing so much on the things that they want you to focus on. Because, again, controlled.
Yeah, I you know, when you start thinking about, like you said, and I always say that they invert stuff. Let me just say it like this, right? And so I decided to take one of their playbooks and I was like, okay, we're going to invert things. And what I mean by that is I know that they're moving toward, when the video Sora and all that stuff came out, it was marked. You wouldn't know it was a fake video.
Mm-hmm.
Then they moved the guardrails.
Yep.
Right? It's like, okay, now you don't know. And now you got to sit there and watch something 3 or 4 times to see, oh, the alligator didn't leave a footprint, but it looks real. Or all of a sudden now we're seeing chaos in real time, stuff that like we never saw before. Who's releasing this stuff? And in fact, a friend of mine, you know, she was talking about to really pay attention. And actually we did a podcast. I think part of that is, I don't know if I put it up, but it's in a Facebook group. So make sure y'all see about 30 or 40 of y'all joined already, but should be 100 of you in there for the stuff that we're going to be doing. And that's Truth versus Authority Community in Facebook. You know, make sure y'all go in there. But anyway, we was talking about how stuff is coming out so fast. Like, right? It's like you see some things that would normally took court orders and all that, but it was like, oh, this happened yesterday, or did it? And so I was like, you know what? While they're building this false reality and all that, we're going to go back to the basics of having live, touch, huggy event community, you know, where it's real. They can't fake me out. They can't fake us out. But pretty soon they can take a influencer's YouTube channel away, so to speak, put that person in a pocket somewhere, start putting AI videos up of the same, and the audience wouldn't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then change the messaging to control those audience. And I'm like, this is crazy. So now I tell people, when you come to our community, and me and you talked about doing some stuff, traveling around, and a couple others, and it's like, we got to get people back to touch, feel real, especially for the conversation, not comedy club style where they going. Now we're talking about truth and knowledge and esoteric stuff. We need to have some touchy feely times, because man, there's certain things we just can't say. And now all of a sudden, you're not even going to know what's real pretty soon. And I think actors and actresses in Hollywood are facing that, because now they can make a movie and they ain't even got to be in it.
Right. I mean, see, but this goes back to what I talked about when I said the essence, like pay attention to when their essence leaves them. Because even when you're looking at AI, it's just something like that, something, and your inner knowing kicks in.
It doesn't have a soul. You can't feel the soul.
Exactly.
Right? That's what they can't replicate yet. Maybe, hopefully never, right? But still.
Right. No, they're never going to be able. They've been trying for centuries.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Billions of years. They can't. That's one thing they cannot. They can do a lot of things, but when it comes to that soul, they cannot get that right. Because again, all you have to do is look at these different replacements of celebrities walking around right now.
Yep.
When you're tapped in, when you have the gift of sight, when you are connected, you absolutely see it. I mean, straight off the bat too. Like, I can look at certain celebrities and I can see the instant switch. Like, they were them yesterday and today they come on screen and I'm like, oh, that's not them.
That's not them. See, that takes me back to, remember earlier I said, this is the part. 'Cause I was like, they didn't, because they don't, they do know who's going to be who, because of the Yellow Book or the parallel Earth that I think is running 8 years of for us, the other Earth side. But I think that they know who's going to be who. But then it would make sense if I was sitting around and I had the power to shapeshift into somebody. We're limited, or whatever the hierarchy is, so you get to be a celebrity. It's like, oh yeah, oh whoa, Justin Bieber is hot right now. I'm going to turn into him. And what happens to him, right? Because like I said, that conversation was, he said that this happened. Y'all can go Google it, look it up, or YouTube it. He said that he was in a meeting, and I'm repeating it, but they shapeshift in front of him to show him the power. And he said that while he was sitting there, he was nervous, and their tongues was like they were feeding off the energy of the fear, right? The loosh, right? But now reports show sometime later that a shapeshift happened. It was him, but it was a female reptilian that showed up, right? So I'm like, he was switched out.
Right.
He got big enough. They was like, okay, I'll be him. He was switched out.
When you said, Roderick, well, where do they go? I want to say it was like it was a commercial not too long ago that kind of showed this. But again, everybody watches these and it's like entertainment. But me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, But the commercial was basically like showing it was like an island where these celebrities that have been replaced, and they're all on the island just chilling.
Oh, the people that was replaced.
Right.
Well, I wonder if they need them alive, because they need to keep their consciousness, or like, it's like, I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse, like The Godfather. Like, what are you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna replace you, but we're gonna go put you on this island. And be like, what do you mean? You get to live your life out as in a fishbowl, like a pet fish, something. But it's like, yeah.
Like, even when I heard the story about, Dave Chappelle, that was when I was really deep into like the whole cloning conversation.
Yeah,
and
right.
And, I heard an interview at the time, and they were talking about, even they go so far to alleviate the people in the family too. Like,
anybody who would know.
Yeah, everybody got to go. But then, of course, there are people who are lingering, like distant cousins and things like that. And that's actually who was doing the interview at the time. I believe it was Dave Chappelle's cousin. Don't quote me on that. And she was talking about how like everybody seemed different. Even the wife, the kids, like everybody just seemed different. So again, you have to ask yourself, how far will they actually go? Like there's no limits to the things that they will do, but also you don't know whether these people are still alive in an unknown location, like they showed in the commercial, right? Or is it certain beings, because they have been so tapped in, or they're such a threat they unalive them and just have their replacements walking around. Like, I don't know. And I'm gonna leave you with this because this was very interesting to me, and it just sticks in the back of my mind. When DMX passed away, I saw something that really got me thinking, and they were saying that like they transferred they transferred DMX's consciousness into the Pope. And when I went down that rabbit hole and I started looking at all the symbolism and everything that lined up in regards to what they were saying about the Pope and in regards to DMX, and those two shouldn't even be linked.
I know. I could imagine the Pope going right,
Right.
right. I mean, the Pope, but he could be saying that too, like, let's rule them humans. Yeah, you never know. He getting the blunt in it, right? But
they kind of the whole point of what I'm saying is they're doing all kind of things that you just can't really fathom when you're sitting in a place of denial or fear. When you become open,
what if DMX had a lot of negative energy and they needed it? It was like, that's a lot in there because the way he went out, right?
Right.
So they might be like, oh, that is a lot. This guy had the whole world on his shoulders. That's a lot of energy. I want that.
Right. But also too, they were doing certain things even while he was in the industry. Cause like he talked about in a lot of his interviews, even in his how even when he would try to get clean off of the drugs, they would still come just like not force him, but put him in situations knowing what was going to happen. Right. So it was like they kept him in a certain state for whatever reason, but ultimately because they know his power. It wasn't just because of the weakness. It was because of how much power and influence.
Well, okay. And so I'm just throwing some out, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say this is DMX, this water.
Right.
This bottled water. All right. So he's a vessel. We're going to say he's a vessel to hold energy. And this water is energy. But since he had, even though the vessel itself could be, I'm just not him, but could be have some type of corruption. Negatively, I'm just saying, because he was going through a lot, right?
Right.
But because so many people were sending love into this vessel or energy, that vessel became more powerful that they were like, I gotta have that because, oh man, he just left. There was so many people like, oh, thinking and DMX, and it's going into that vessel, and they like just draw that shit out because energy is just flowing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just making it up, but just kind of creating this scenario,
No, I like where you're going. And it's highly possible because, when you think about the vessel, I think about the vessel as like a car, right?
Yeah.
Multiple people can drive this one car, right? So they're walk-in souls. I talk about this often. Like there's a such thing as walk-in souls. Some people, they decide when we start talking about soul contracts, they decide it's time to abort mission. They say they don't want to do this anymore, and a lot of times this happens in trauma or, when people are going through very traumatic situations, they'll say it out of their mouth. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. Certain things like that. And then at that point, you get a walk-in soul. So you have, the vessel, everything still looks the same, but you realize that now this is the essence of this person has changed. Right. And even if you start looking at some of your family, even your friends, maybe even your lover, you will start to recognize this, that there's a lot of people who allow other energies to inhabit their essence. Right. And this just is because, again, not connected to self, allowing those lower energies to take over and, not recognizing their power. Like giving your power away. But, a very enlightened being, a very protected being, it's it's almost impossible to hijack their body. But when you're vulnerable, it's easy. When you're in fear, it's easy. Yeah. So that's a big thing of why I teach releasing the fears. Again, connecting back with self so that you can recognize all of this. You can see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much I'm gonna get you out of here in about 5 minutes here. I know we running some time here, and I appreciate your time and everything else. But we'll spend that last few minutes of people knowing. Again, if you are in the Dallas, Texas area, put something in the chat so I can give you a shout out. Let me know if you are in Texas, period. Because again, we have a lot of stuff going on in within the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay, so if you're watching this, I'm sure out of 600 people that I'm looking at right now in the thing, that 20, 50 of you are in Dallas area. And so what I'm going to do is put some on the screen for you to screenshot with your phone, and so that you have a particular telephone number, which you want to jump on the text system that we have, and then you will get details on different stuff that we're doing here. We even have a movie night, February the 20th. It's free, no kids though. We're going to watch some stuff that's going to shock the world and what's really happening with this reality. And so that's February the 20th, Friday night. So we'll be there from 7 something to midnight, because it's like a whole 3 1-hour series. And we're going to discuss each part of that series as we elevate. So these are things that we're doing together here at Truth versus Authority. And then once again, go to the Facebook. All right. And it'll look something like this. Let me put the image up here. Go to Facebook, Truth versus Authority community Facebook, and make sure you get on there. So, but Yaya, you do a lot of coaching, you do a lot of services, and it was you too that told me that I do have my consultation phone up on my website. So I've been talking to a lot of people through this, especially when they start getting, seeing these ships and different things. So it's been really active there. But tell us a little bit about things that you do, where they can find you as well. So.
Yeah. So I have 2 different websites. I have ubotanica.shop, which is my botanica shop that I kind of put a pause on, but I'm actually reintroducing some new items actually within the next week. So I'll have ritual kits. I have my 13-month calendar that I created over there. Just a number of different things on that site. But then I also just built my another website called uaura.tech. And basically it's like kind of like a beginner spiritual school. So I have a number of different things. I have courses, I have free things that people can just jump on there and look at different tips of the day. I have things about hoodoo. I teach about a lot of different things. I also have a lot of my services over there, which includes readings as well as coaching services. So I have a plethora of things. So ubotanica.shop or uaura.tech is where you can find any of my services. And then I'm on all social media platforms. So
all social media. The
okay.
handle Yaya's World, right? 777.
Well, my Facebook is actually my government name, and it's Anisha Brown on
I
Facebook.
can't even spell it. When I be looking up at my phone, I be like trying to find it. So
It's Anitia Brown on Facebook. I also have another Facebook page, the official Yaya's World 777. And then on TikTok and Instagram is Yaya's_World 777.
yeah, I see that we got Doran Carroll. He say he's in Oak Cliff. I grew up in Oak Cliff, and I'm still in Dallas. We're in Dallas right now. And so I grew up over there in Oak Cliff. So if you're in Oak Cliff, you should be in our Facebook group. Get on the text list. This Saturday, we just meeting up. We have a community. We over there by Redbird Mall. We got the event center, and we're there doing something every 2 weeks, man. And on a Saturday, and as a community, an open mic where people can share some stuff. And I see WK Lewis is in the DFW area as well. So jump on that text list on the screen, and I'll be sending out messages tomorrow and the next day of the events. And then when Yaya will be here in Dallas, March 14th and 13th, really, she'll come in that Friday, and then we're going to do a VIP kind of hangout, just a few of us privately, and just kind of talk, have a little something to eat or whatever. And then Saturday, that afternoon, I think from 3 to 7, we're going to do some stuff with her, me and her, and then we are going to stream a couple of hours of that stuff too. So right now you're able to go to truthversusauthority.org. Let me put it on the screen here, and you can get a live stream version as well, parts of it, stuff that we can live stream, and then for those of you who are there live with us after 7 going into the 8 o'clock, we're going to stay there, and then there's a big area, and then we're going to celebrate my birthday. And Brother Joseph is going to be up, and for the birthday stuff too. A couple of people are going to come into town, and yeah, we're going to have a great time.
Great time. I'm excited. I'm excited to, of course, meet my good homeboy, Roderick, and celebrate his birthday. Also, I'm excited to meet Brother Yosef, like
Yep.
people that before I even started speaking, like I have heard about, known about, love the information. So I'm highly excited. And Roger, we gonna definitely do your birthday right. So
Hey, you know what? Like I said, I've been sending messages to my crew, like, yeah, and finally, one of them asked me today, what kind of cake you like? I'm like, damn, somebody heard me. Damn. I have people just right next to me. He said a word. You know what I'm saying? You go look at one of the podcasts. I say, get a cake, and they looking like, wait, cake. I mean, something. It's March 10th is the actual birthday, but and when you do get the ticket, whether you buy the live stream or whatever, there's a little thing say if you want to give Roderick a little $5 for his birthday, you can do that too. Just whatever. Show some love. I'll be 56. That's 25 times 2 plus 6 for you mathematical folks. And but I'm excited because where we're going this year in with all the content and what we're doing. Like I said, my goal is to bring truth with touch. Well, that's a good flow now. We're gonna bring truth with touch, and that touch is love, right? That's our whole thing is the energy of love, and doing that. So before we go, 40 DVDs, 49 hours, chemtrail geo fencing. I see a couple of you got them, 3 of you. That's cool. So we got about 10 left. So if you were to buy this somewhere else or trying to get it, you can't even get all this information in one place anyway. But if you did, you'll probably spend $500, $600, $700, $800, whatever. But it ain't even that. It ain't even $100. So you can just get this and know what's happening, people, because knowledge is not just power now. Knowledge is awakening, right? It is definitely a necessary thing. And then you can then share, if that's what you decide to do, you can do that. Take the information, share it, and do that. Somebody said, oh, you need a cake, or somebody make cakes or whatever. I mean, it could be a little, I'm not trying to get bigger off a cake, but I want my first happy birthday to you. You know what I'm saying?
As long as we got to do the ritual, Roger, lighting the candles and singing it around in a circle.
No, we ain't doing. I mean, you know what? We ain't got to do nothing that resembles a ritual because, I just put a cake. You ain't got to put my name on it. You ain't even got to do nothing. All I need to know is, in fact, I could be a little petty and selfish. Just make a little round piece.
A personal
cake, and we supposed to have good cooks in our group, and so what I do not supposed to. I know some of them can cook, so and maybe they can make one or they can go out and buy one. But if they just want to do it that way, either which way, my friend Judith, she's going to fly down from Detroit, and so we just got a lot of people. They come to see you. I'm just there, and then they do come to see me too, but they come to see you. They come to see both of us. We're gonna give them something they've never seen before. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Because first of all, the conversations that you and I have offline,
yep,
that's what we able to really get into, and that's why we saying it's better to come to the events because is nobody can filter us.
Nope, uncensored, baby. It is uncensored. And so, but to stay connected to all that, I'm gonna put it up on the screen one more time. I want y'all to screenshot this. This is the Facebook name, the community. Okay. Make sure you screenshot this. You're already on Facebook. Go into the group. You'll see stuff posting. We're going to be doing some stuff there. And then you'll get notices about events and things that we're doing there, as well as getting on our text list. But, website, I just can't put all these different areas up, but you can. And last but not least, this is for those of you watching on Forbidden Knowledge, I have my personal channel that, Yaya and Brother Yosef, actually Brother Yosef and I did a video on chemtrails yesterday on there. And so there it is, Roderick Martin. I'm on Forbidden Knowledge on Tuesday night. So if you want a little more of me all the time, go there. The YouTube channel is Roderick Martin, Truth versus Authority. Yeah. And so screenshot this and come find me on YouTube as well. And we can kind of do that. So you got any last words? Not last words, but any new flow of energy information before we go?
Well, just to kind of add on to what you just mentioned, Roderick, and I heard you talking about that knowledge, right? I want you guys to think back of why the knowledge was forbidden, right?
Yeah.
Made the serpents evil, right? They don't want you to obtain the knowledge because, yes, knowledge is powerful, but only when you apply it. So that's what I want everybody to recognize. Apply the knowledge. You know, if you're hungry for the information, that's because your soul knows all.
Yep.
Your soul remembers a lot of things. So if you feel led and called to research certain things, absolutely do it. But also learn the rhythm of your body and learn when you need to pull back. Because again, we are in a time where the ritual is at an all-time high. So just really learn about yourself, know thyself, connect back to self so that you can't ever be tricked or programmed again. So
Yeah. Well, that's the key. Like you said, remember, man, remember. And we do that twice a month and everything else. All right, y'all. I will call you in a few hours because I know you'll be up. And then we'll talk a little later. I appreciate you being here, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. So that's the greatness of y'all. And so we're getting ready to end this show tonight. Hopefully you guys had a great information tonight. Make sure you want to share this video, go back. And again, one more time, if you want to find me on my YouTube channel, I'll put it back. I know somebody said they didn't get the screenshot. There you go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Screenshot that. And then you can find me on my personal YouTube channel. And then as always, this is the event. She's going to be in Dallas, or you can watch it via live stream. All right. So if you want to watch it via live stream, Yaya and I, then you could go to truthversusauthority.org. What you see on the screen, hit the event tab, and it'll take you where you can book right now. And like I say, you want to get your ticket if you come in or the live stream. Live stream, we're going to stop that a little early because we're going to manually send those links out to watch it. And so we won't be doing that like up into the last week, because it'll be, we have to focus on it especially. So just give me a saying, you might hear some stuff or you're going to hear some stuff. I'm going to just tell you, you're going to hear some things. It's going to be uncensored. And I guarantee you nothing will be as it was ever again after you come down in here and see if you do or you be on there. So make sure you all do that. I love you. Love each and every one of you. Put in the chat, I love you all, so that other people watching this later are going to know the love. And if you didn't hear the words, I love you over the weekend. I don't think I did either. Or did I? I don't think I did. Oh my God. So I love you. I really do. I love you. And so therefore, it's energy. We need to pass the energy and pretty much so that we could, put things out. And I might have did it. Maybe it blew in my ear or something. I'm not for sure. But none of the parrot stuff. I love you back. Just true energy in that. So hope each and every one of you really, again, got something from tonight's show. And once again, if you did, again, go to the Facebook page, Truth versus Authority Community. Get in the Facebook page. Okay. I'm just telling you, get in there, join the group and then share things. You can share stuff there too, right? There's a place also to introduce yourself so that other people can say hello to you. And for the 20 or 30 of you who are already joined tonight, because I saw the number went up, I appreciate you a great deal. And you will not be disappointed being part of the Truth versus Authority community. Okay. That's my promise to you. And we shall all grow together. And I think I love you all in the chats. That's great. And that's the energy that we want to make sure we put out for everyone. And so there will be people watching this video and they'll see your chats tomorrow, next week. And when they look in there, they're going to feel loved just as much as we want them to. With that being said, it's been a plum, pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege.
UFOs,
UAPs,
unidentified anomalous phenomena,
unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Who are they? Where are they from? And what is their intent?
all questions that immediately come to mind with the mention of UFOs. A Pentagon report is detailing a dramatic increase in UFO sightings, more than 350 since 2021. Many of them are explained as being drones, birds, or weather events, but about half of them remain unexplained.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
My gosh.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
This video taken by the Navy showing what he describes as pyramid-shaped UFOs flying over the USS Russell off the San Diego coast in July of 2019. The Pentagon has since confirmed that the video is authentic.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible late information. Joe Wilson reports to us now from Chicago. The Army may be getting to the bottom of all this talk about the so-called flying saucers. As a matter of fact, the 509th Atomic Bomb Group headquarters at Roswell, New Mexico, reports that it has received one of the discs which landed on a ranch outside Roswell. The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil is the man who discovered the saucer.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
More people are coming forward with their own sightings.
Videos recorded by U.S. Navy personnel have added a new layer of evidence to the current national debate about UFOs.
Right at that moment, I saw what looked like 5 lights flying in formation in kind of an inverted check mark.
The NASA independent study team did not find any evidence that UAP have an extraterrestrial origin. We don't know what these UAP are.
The mysterious flying objects are still a mystery. NASA will continue investigating them and has appointed a director of UAP research.
Technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had.